What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me at your next event. And you can sing for me. Yeah, I do karaoke shows too. Weddings and parties and corporate events and all that kind of stuff. All the usual stuff you'd want some good music playing at. You know, I conform to you. I become who you want me to be. I'll play the music you want me to play. I'll be the entertainer that you want me to be. I conform to you. Speaking of you, if you would like to tell your story, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. But for today, let's learn together on What Makes You Smarter. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Friday, March 20th, 2020. 10 things you need to know today. Number 1. Senate Republicans unveil relief bill seeking checks for U.S. adults. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican Kentucky, on Thursday introduced an emergency economic stimulus bill to counter economic damage from the coronavirus crisis. The legislation calls for sending $1,200 checks to most adults, along with $500 for every child, with the amounts decreasing for those making more than $75,000. The plan also includes loans for small businesses. Democrats say the plan doesn't go far enough to help individuals, and they want to bar corporations receiving bailouts from buying back their own stock. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin and White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow are expected to meet with lawmakers from both parties on Friday to discuss a bipartisan deal. This is according to the Washington Post and Reuters. Number 2, California governor issues a statewide stay-at-home order. California Governor Gavin Newsom, Democrat, on Thursday night ordered all 40 million California residents to shelter in place. The decision expanded restrictions already imposed by local governments in the San Francisco and Los Angeles areas. Essential businesses, including grocery stores and pharmacies, will be allowed to remain open. Restaurants will be able to offer delivery and pickup only. Newsom did not say how long the order would last. Newsom also requested a Navy hospital ship to accommodate people who will be stricken with the flu-like virus. He said the state estimates that 56% of California's population, or 25.5 million people, will be infected this spring. This is according to SFGate and CNBC. Number 3. Italy's coronavirus death toll rises above China's. The coronavirus death toll in Italy reached 3,405 on Thursday, surpassing that of China, where the outbreak began 3 months ago. In China, 3,249 people had died as of Thursday, according to data compiled by Johns Hopkins University. The flu-like virus spread to Italy and other parts of Europe after starting in the central China city of Wuhan and spreading quickly through surrounding Hubei province. In Italy, the outbreak was concentrated in the northern Lombardy region, including the financial hub of Milan. Italian authorities have locked down the entire country in an attempt to contain the virus. Italy has reported more than 400 deaths 2 days in a row. China on Friday reported its second straight day with no new locally transmitted cases, a first since the outbreak began. This is according to CNBC and the Washington Post. Number 4. State Department urges Americans to return home from abroad. The State Department on Thursday called for all American citizens to return home from abroad or stay where they are until the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic has eased. The warning came in the form of an announcement that the department is raising its global travel advisory for all regions up to level 4. The top-tier alert normally applied to nations at war or engulfed in potentially dangerous turmoil. The advisory is not a travel ban, but a recommendation. So Americans abroad will make their own decisions about how to respond. President Trump said his administration is working with the military to help any U.S. citizens stranded abroad get home. This is according to Politico. Number 5, at least 2 GOP senators dump stocks after coronavirus briefings. Senate Intelligence Committee Chair Richard Burr, Republican, North Carolina, sold up to $1.56 million in stocks in February after receiving a briefing on the expected severity of the coronavirus outbreak in the United States. During that period, Burr was assuring the public that the Trump administration had everything under control, although a secret recording emerged in which he warned well-connected constituents to prepare for a dire economic situation. Burr called an NPR report on the matter a, quote, tabloid-style hit piece, end quote, and a spokesman said the senator fully disclosed the trades. Senator Kelly Loeffler, Republican Georgia, also sold stock before the market crashed as the outbreak began spreading rapidly in the U.S. She also bought $100,000 to $250,000 worth of shares in Citrix, a technology company that provides teleworking software. This is according to NPR and the Daily Beast. Number 6. Protesters say Netanyahu using coronavirus crisis to cement hold on power. Critics of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu protested in the streets on Thursday, accusing Netanyahu of using the coronavirus pandemic as an excuse to firm up his slipping grip on power. Netanyahu and his allies have shut down the court system, used phone surveillance technology on the public, and suspended activities in parliament. Netanyahu has said the extraordinary steps were necessary to deal with extraordinary times. His political rivals say he is using the crisis to stay in control and avoid his looming corruption trial. Benny Gantz, Netanyahu's centrist rival in the third close parliamentary elections in a year, said the country now must fight the coronavirus and, quote, at the same time, preserve Israeli democracy, end quote. This is according to the Associated Press. Number 7. Tulsi Gabbard drops out of presidential race, endorses Biden. Representative Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat Hawaii, announced Thursday that she is dropping out of the race for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination. Gabbard endorsed former Vice President Joe Biden, the frontrunner, saying it's, quote, clear that Democratic primary voters have chosen, end quote, him as the nominee. Quote, although I may not agree with the vice president on every issue, I know that he has a good heart, end quote. Gabbard said, this officially leaves Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders, independent Vermont, as the only Democratic candidates left in the 2020 race. Gabbard won only 2 delegates from American Samoa, coming in behind candidates who suspended their campaigns weeks ago. Biden doubled his delegate lead over Sanders with 3 primary wins this week. Number 8. Judge dismisses lawsuit alleging census will undercount minority. U.S. District Judge Alvin Hellerstein in Manhattan on Thursday dismissed a lawsuit accusing the Trump administration of depriving the U.S. Census Bureau of the funding it needs to prevent an undercount of minority groups in the 2020 census. The judge rejected a request for an injunction to force the Bureau to use $770 million in leftover appropriations to send out more census takers to visit homes and reach out to communities at risk of being undercounted. The Brooklyn-based nonprofit Center for Popular Democracy Action and the City of Newburgh, New York, filed the case, arguing that federal cost cutting would result in missing many African Americans, Latinos, immigrants, and homeless people. The government said the claim was based on speculation, not evidence. This is according to Reuters. Number 9. Trump cancels G7 gathering at Camp David. President Trump has decided to cancel the in-person meeting of G7 leaders scheduled for June at Camp David and will instead hold a video conference, the White House announced Thursday. The Camp David meeting was canceled, quote, in order for each country to focus all of its resources on responding to the health and economic challenges, end quote, of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, White House Deputy Press Secretary Judd Deere said. He added that the leaders have been notified of the change of plans and will hold video teleconferences in April and May. This is according to CNN and the Washington Post. Number 10. Monacos Prince Albert becomes world's first head of state hit by coronavirus. Prince Albert II, ruler of Monaco, has tested positive for the COVID-19 coronavirus, his palace said Thursday. Albert, 62, is the first head of state to publicly confirm infection. The Palace of Monaco said the prince was undergoing treatment by doctors from Princess Grace Hospital, which is named after his mother, the late American actress Grace Kelly. The palace said he was doing well and continuing to work from home, maintaining contact with members of his government. The news came on the same day that organizers announced they were canceling the Monaco Grand Prix, saying it was, quote, not possible, end quote, to arrange a new date for the famed Formula One car race. This is according to the Associated Press and BBC News. That's 10 things you need to know today for Friday, March 20th, 2020. Be safe out there. This has been What Makes You Smarter. If you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag #WhatMakesYouFamous. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Smarter. It's Keys Dan, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here. If you like what you hear, I encourage you to follow What Makes You Smarter on social media. Find it on Facebook at What Makes You Smarter, Instagram at What Makes You Smarter, Twitter at SmarterWhat, and YouTube. Username Keys Dan. Leave What Makes You Smarter podcast a review and subscribe. Listen to What Makes You Smarter podcast on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Podcast Addict. My personal favorite, learn with me on my podcast, What Makes You Smarter. And if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag #WhatMakesYouFamous. Call 501-470-6386 and leave a message to set up a time for What Makes You Famous. Support What Makes You Smarter podcast using the PayPal, paypal.me/KeysDan. Email info@radiowhat.com. What Makes You Smarter is a production of Keys Dan Enterprises Incorporated at keysdan.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for